I want to tell you a little bit of a story, which is that every time I take my MacBook, my laptop, out with me, I keep getting these positive comments, people getting astonished by the fact that I'm using a MacBook. But let me break to you a secret. This laptop is already 8 years old. It's really nothing special at all. Even it is a second-hand laptop. But since it is already 8 years old, I guess I'm just going to share my experience using this laptop and whether or not you should buy a MacBook or an ordinary laptop. But of course, this is based on the perspective that I'm using an old MacBook, the mid-2013 model, but I will eventually upgrade this MacBook into a more superior laptop, especially the one with that M1 chip, which I will talk about in a minute. So first of all, let's talk about price. Now, laptops on average cost around 2,000 ringgit for basic productivity, but you can go up to, let's say, 4,000 to 5,000 ringgit if you want to use it for high performance, high end stuff like gaming or visual effects or etc. But MacBooks on the other hand cost around 5,000 on average for basic productivity, or you can go up to a high 10,000 ringgit. There you can see a significant difference between MacBook and ordinary laptops, and probably why people don't tend to buy MacBooks at all. But I'm lucky that my dad actually used this MacBook Air before recommending it to me, and we see a massive benefit between MacBooks and non-MacBooks, which is how long this MacBook can last. So let's say if you're using an ordinary laptop, you can probably expect it to last around 3 years or so before its performance drops and it needs replacing. MacBooks on the other hand can last up to twice the time, like probably 6 years or even more, like in my case 8 years. Therefore, if you buy a non-MacBook laptop just because you think it is a cheaper option, keep in mind that it is really no different because you will eventually need to keep replacing that laptop more frequently. So is MacBook better than a non-MacBook? Well, not necessarily, because let's talk about performance. Now, if you want to do things like gaming or visual effects, a 4,000 to 5,000 ringgit laptop is probably a way better option because it has a dedicated graphics card. For example, I do have my friend who bought it at 5,000 ringgit and has an RTX enabled inside. But the drawback is that, of course, since we are living in a world where technology is rapidly evolving, then you do need to eventually replace that laptop with a much better graphics card. So after a while, it's all just going to be obsolete. Now, Apple, on the other hand, operates on a completely different operating system. It somehow makes the performance last longer. So let's say if you have a MacBook with a fairly average speed, then you can expect that speed to last for around 4 years or so. Plus, it's been several months now since Apple introduced its Apple Silicon, its own new chip, which is the M1. Now, M1 chip is a complete game changer. It outperforms a lot, if not every laptop, at a much more efficient power consumption. Now, I'm impressed that in video editing, actually my laptop over here can handle 4K videos, so I can only expect the impossible happening in the M1 MacBooks. Now, this also brings up a point that MacBooks in general depreciate less rapidly than non-MacBooks. So let's say you have a 5,000 ringgit MacBook versus a 5,000 ringgit non-MacBook. In 5 years, the MacBook can be sold probably half its price, 2,500 ringgit, whilst the ordinary laptop can be sold at just 10% of the price, which is 500 ringgit, meaning this MacBook laptop can lose its value at a much slower rate than other laptops. Now, in fact, this is true for other Apple products as well, like iPhone and iPad. Another point I do want to make also is that when using this MacBook, your first few weeks may be rough because of all the complex gestures that you can use. But once you get used to it, we can say that MacBooks have a lot of seamless and more useful control, which makes it efficient if you want to use it for productivity usage. And to tie everything together, using a MacBook makes you look more professional. Now, this may seem like a silly thing for me to say, but who knows? Just by showing it off, you might, let's say, get a business opportunity just because of the impression that you give to other people. Now, I'm not saying for you to brag. If you brag, then you're obviously just going to give a worse impression towards others. So to summarize, ordinary laptops are cheaper at less than half the price of a MacBook, but its performance drops quite rapidly, meaning the price drops quickly. In 5 years, you can sell both laptops at different prices. Next, MacBook has a lot of efficient gestures which you can use to navigate between screens, and MacBooks gives you a more professional impression towards others. So which one should you choose? Well, it really depends, but I would go for MacBook by default and go for a more faster laptops for VFX or gaming, etc., taking into consideration that it will become obsolete in a few years. But have you used a MacBook before? What are your thoughts on using it? Or if not, what are your comments in using an ordinary laptop? Leave your opinions in the comment section down below, and have a great day.